Hello, and welcome back to the most jank setup you've ever seen. Can we get Mithra in the shot? Can we get Mithra? And no. So yeah, Sun and Moon video was initially a much longer script going into why I like Sun and Moon, a bunch of aspects about the game, but eventually just narrowed it down to just the villains because I thought that was the most interesting part and the thing worth diving deeper into. So just kind of wanted to make this low effort addendum as just other things about Sun and Moon that I want to discuss. Starting with difficulty, because that's a much maligned part of the 3D games. When I first played through Sun and Moon, I knew the type charts. I understood special versus physical. I'm a functioning teenager, right? So I still played it with all the things available to me: EXP Sharon, Z moves, switch battle style. And I remember struggling with Totem Lurantis, Totem Mimikyu, and Elite Four Hala as some things that I lost to. We'll get a bit more into that in a second, but let's focus on the footage team. So for collecting footage, I went with EXP Share On, no Z moves, and set battle style. I thought this would be a good middle ground for me to be somewhat challenged, but also I still want to get through it relatively quick to just get the footage, right? So let's go to the team of Pokemon that I comprise team of just going through Pokemon I like. We go with, Rowlet off the bat into a Dartrix. Got a Alolan Grimer into a Alolan Muck. I don't have a Grimer card. Lycanroc, the day form, because I was playing through Sun. And then we've got Charjabug and Araquanid. And then I also added in Golisopod. I think Golisopod is sick. I love him. I know he's slow. He's got emergency exit. But I just wanted to use him. Now, this team first caused me issues against Olivia, during which Golisopod was a Wimpod, so it's basically useless. We're just gonna do that. So yeah, Olivia caused me a good bit of trouble. Dartrix is still weak to rock, so it can't hit stuff super effective without getting hit back. Charjabug is still kind of weak and weak to rock. Araquanid has good rock moves, but slower than everything, and it will get nuked by the Z move. So Olivia, just as a Kahuna, gave me a good bit of issues. Her team is also rocks that are very high in physical defense. All of these, except Chargebug, which was the weakest at that point, are physical attackers. So it's not great. Olivia gave me a good bit of whiting outs. But yeah, eventually, Wimpod did evolve into Golisopod. It's time to make some decisions, right? Because if I was a kid, the bugs are just sick. I probably would have just ran all three of them. But, trying to make this, somewhat of a balanced team. I had used Vikavolt before, so we're going to send Charjabug out. And now between Araquanid and Golisopod, my two water bugs, they're both really cool. Araquanid gets Liquidation, buff Leech Life, is slow, which is unfortunate, but, Golisopod, also very slow, and with Emergency Exit, it's just awful. You can throw in Golisopod to a matchup where it has a super effective move, but it might just get bounced before it's able to use it. Emergency Exit is just awful. And so I think it's pretty obvious which of these two is the better option.
That's stupid.
Yeah, defying all form of logic and reason, I went with Golisopod. He's cool. I really wanted to use him. Surely it wouldn't have an attack-lowering nature, compounding on the issues I mentioned before. So what were we gonna fill in these slots with? Well, first Dartrix is gonna evolve up into Decidueye, giving us kind of coverage. We already had a Dark type to hit most stuff Ghost is gonna hit. To round out the team, I still just want to use kind of Pokemon I like from the Alola region, so went with Turtonator and Ninetales to try to get somewhat of a balanced team in here. Now, there is one thing you will notice about this team, and I think it's one of the things that makes Alola a deceptively difficult game if you play through it the way I do, which is wanting to use a bunch of new Pokemon. Everyone is slow as sin. Lycanroc is the only fast Pokemon here that can sweep through stuff. 3 of these Pokemon are better equipped for Trick Room. Decidueye is just not outspeeding most stuff it needs to. And Ninetales is not VGC doubles with Aurora Veil. Its stats is pretty evenly distributed. I'm just getting outsped by everything. I'm taking a bunch of damage. I'm never able to hit stuff and one-shot it reliably. That's just the issue with Alola. Even with the team I had when I first played through it, when it first came out, that had Wishy-Washy, Vikavolt, Mudsdale, Crabominable. So Alolan Pokemon are just slow. So if you use a bunch of them, the game becomes a good bit harder. But yeah, this team, I didn't have issues. You know, Loose Beam was fine, Nanu was fine, Totem Como is an absolute joke. But then we get to the Elite Four. Kahili, pushover. Lycanroc sweeps through the whole thing. Acerola, her secondary typings give me a lot of weaknesses to exploit, so it's not just Decidueye and Muck. Like, everyone can contribute, and it's fairly easy. Olivia, of course, still gave me trouble, just because Lycanroc still has a stab move that's going to hit Decidueye for super effective damage. And so I just needed to get Decidueye to a spot where it's like going to survive 2 crunches, because it wasn't one-shotting back with Leaf Blade. Because again, otherwise it's like, there's a nuke that the Lycanroc has that I always need to be aware of, and none of the other Pokemon are that good into Olivia. Like, I throw in Gliscod, oh, I'm gonna get a water move off, just kidding. I'm gonna get hit by a rock move, get ejected, and it does not contribute at all. And again, like, the same issue of, like, you know, high physical defense on a lot of rock types. You got 4 physical attackers, the only 2 special attackers are both weak to rock, so yeah, not great. Olivia, I did lose to in the Elite Four. Hala also gave me a good bit of trouble. Dazzling Gleam wasn't one-shotting stuff, so it got a bit tricky, but I don't believe I lost to Hala. But then we get to Kukui, and I initially lead with Decidueye, not knowing what he leads with, I've forgotten. Kill his Lycanroc, throws in Braviary, set battle style, I switch into Lycanroc to deal with the Braviary. Braviary gets up a Tailwind, so when I kill it, in comes Incineroar, which just absolutely destroys me. With Tailwind, Lycanroc doesn't outspeed it, which means no one else has any chance. Even when Tailwind goes away, a bunch of these guys are getting outsped. And Kukui's Incineroar just has, like, a really good move set to just, like, hit everyone, right? Like, Flare Blitz is going to demolish some guys, Cross Chop for Lycanroc, Z-Move for Muck, Golisopod gets ejected before it can use a water move. Incineroar just swept me. Second time going through, I was like, okay, let's, like, not mess around. I'll lead with Lycanroc, kill his Lycanroc. He still goes into Braviary second, which was very weird. But then I missed Stone Edge, and the same thing happens again, where it gets up Tailwind, Incineroar comes in, and I lose. Next time around, I'm like, okay, let me see if Rock Slide will kill Braviary, just for sake of it being a higher accuracy move. It didn't. Got up Tailwind, I lose. Again, could I have been maybe a bit of creative with, like, okay, can I, like, stall out the Braviary Tailwind? Perhaps, but again, like, I'm not even seeing all of Kukui's team. Like, that Incineroar alone is just frying me. But yeah, I probably could have problem solved better with, like, let me, like, throw in Muck to soak up some Braviary damage while the Tailwind peters out. And I think generally that is my problem with Pokemon and people complaining about difficulty. It's like, it's monster collecting rock, paper, scissors. I'm never going to expect a single player story in an E for everyone game to be that challenging. It's rock, paper, scissors, and really, there isn't a lot of problem solving when you lose. It's not like, oh, I have this new information, now I'm going to play differently. Most of the time, it's just going to the wild area and jam A over and over and over to get your numbers higher. That's not difficult, that's just time consuming, and that's what this ended up being, where I just ran through the Elite Four a bunch of times till eventually, like, Decidueye could live 2 crunches until Lycanroc hits the Braviary, and I can, you know, still deal with the rest of his team, which we haven't even discussed. So yeah, even as a smart adult that was, like, trying to build a balanced team, like, everyone being slow caused so many problems, and I still lost a bunch. But again, I did have, like, a rule set that made it harder on myself than what someone would typically go through when playing the game. But yeah, we're going to leave these guys up looking pretty as we discuss the rest. Z-moves are an interesting topic. I think it's cool that, you know, you got the Z-moves, the Z-crystals, the Tapus, the Island Trial, all these things coming together to give Alola a unique identity. And I think that works in their favor. Like, Pokemon has done the same thing, like, over and over and over and over and over again. Even if the trials are, at its base, the same thing as a gym leader, where you just pick the super effective move and jam it over and over. Like, I liked the bit of shakeup. I liked the bit of storytelling about the Island Trial, the Tapu's and Kukui's dream to, like, build this up into, like, an actual Pokemon League while still respecting the culture. And so, like, the gimmick of Z-moves, I think, is very well tied to the region. I complaint as far as the single player experience is concerned. I don't think you should get to use Z moves against just like random guys. Like Sword and Shield fixed this by making so that to Dynamax you need to be in a stadium and be in a fight where the other guy is able to Dynamax. Like maybe you need the Tapu's Blessing and them watching over you for you to unleash the Z Crystal's power in like a captain fight, the Elite Four, maybe the totem fights. But then you kind of get to the issue of like, there aren't many of those. So if you're not flexing your cool new mechanic, it's like, what was really the point? Now, in multiplayer, Z moves are a headache. Like, it's cool for a bit to be like, oh, my support Pokemon can have a nuke. Oh, my regular attacker can have a very powerful nuke for a type you may not be expecting. It's cool for a bit, but then it just gets very cheesy, where it's like, oh, I just have to respect that anything can have a nuke. I understand why Z moves were very frustrating from the competitive perspective. I think they could have done something where, like, when you throw out a Pokemon with a Z Crystal, it, like, sparkles, and so you get the, like, tell, or the sparkle of a Z Crystal shown through, or something like that. So that you at least know, okay, when they throw in a Pokemon, like, that thing has a Z move. I'll leave it to the competitive players as to whether this idea should also reveal the type of the Z Crystal or not. But yeah, for the sake of, like, storytelling, for the sake of making Alola feel like a unique region, I'm fine with Z moves. I think they should. It's like not very creative, I will say, compared to Megas, compared to Gigantamaxing, which has new forms. It's kind of on par with Terastallization for me, as far as like the coolness of it. But I do like it just because, like, in the greater context of the region and the island trial, it makes sense. Nebby was initially going to be a bigger part of the script, and specifically me not liking that Lily gives you Nebby in the game. Just like, come on, man, like, does Nebby really want to go have a bunch of Pokemon battles? I get it's now capable of doing so, but like, you don't know if that's what he really wants. I didn't like Lily giving you Nebby until I made that video and did a deeper dive onto like Lusamine, and I think because of that, Lily serves as a good juxtaposition, so I kind of forgive her giving the player Nebby for the sake of the franchise giving you the box art legendary. You have Lusamine, the character who's like so obsessed with holding on to stuff and like doesn't want to let go, and then you juxtapose to Lily, who is like able to let her child out into the world. Like, I think the dialogue does a lot of heavy lifting, where like Lily is basically a parent in that moment, seeing their kid off, very much like concerned, like, oh, don't go doing this, don't cause any trouble. Like, same thing a parent does when their kid moves on to like next stages of life and they're not going to always be there for them, kind of stuff. So while I didn't like Lily giving you Nebby initially, I think me looking more into Lusamine and comparing and contrasting, like, it makes more sense now, even if it does kind of feel like, oh, it's a Pokemon game, you need to get the thing on the box, which I think could have been pretty easily solved if Pokemon would bother just like making one singular game for each entry in the franchise. I do not like the 2-version thing. I understand some people are like, oh, it gives a uniqueness to the franchise. It gives a discussion point for people to talk with their friends about. I'm just like, you cannot be making a game that does not have all the content. You cannot be making a game where 98% of people are going to pay $60 for it, but then 2% of people are going to pay $120 for it because they're going to buy both. And now the price is going to be higher because it's not $60 probably. Like, it just does not feel like a good business practice. I don't understand how people only started complaining about Pokemon's business practices in Gen 6 and with DLC. It's like, the 2-version thing is not a consumer-friendly business practice, guys. And don't even get me started on selling the game 3 or 4 times. But anyway, I think Sun and Moon like had the best option for having one game that branches out, because it's like a very simple thing where you get the Sun Flute, you get the Moon Flute, you pick which one you want to play, and then Nebby evolves into the Pokemon that you didn't pick, because, you know, Nebby and Lily have the better connection, Lily's playing the other flute. And then when you get into Ultra Space, you maybe need to add in a bit more shenanigans to get the other legendary Pokemon involved. that you then eventually catch, which is a different thing from Nebby. You don't get Lily seeing Nebby off. You can maybe put that post game, but then you have the issue of like, oh, you got both legendaries. Like, I think that's still fine if we're in this one version utopia. So yeah, I think of all the games, just because of the two flutes, Sun and Moon has like a pretty seamless option to give you that branching into the two different legendaries depending on which one you want, and then you just rework stuff where it's like, all right, bud, it's not the altar of the Sun and Moon, it's the altar of the cosmos or something. I think that about wraps up anything I can talk about in this context. Also, just gonna add this bit since this video is taking me a while to put together anyway. Initially in the script, I had Guzma's trophies as second place trophies. I wrote it before playing the game back for footage. When playing the game back, I was like, oh, they're just referred to as trophies. I'll just keep it as generic trophies then. Not using my eyes to notice that his trophies are bronze and silver. So they're still second and third place trophies. I think that makes Guzma's story a good bit better. It's like, hey, he's trying, but he's never really the best. He's never really living up to the expectations that he and his dad have put upon him. But yeah, just wanted to correct that because it was a mistake in the video. Like, I'll just take the video down, man. Like, I cannot believe I did my boy wrong.
Soiled it! Soiled it!
I think How is cool. I think it's nice that like How and Gladian are first on very like opposite sides of the spectrum, and by interacting with each other, they like go in a bit closer. Where How's like, I maybe need to be a bit more try hard. You know, my friend was like kidnapped and in life-threatening situations. Like, I need to be stronger. I need to take stuff seriously. And then Gladian's like, I can't be giga serious all the time. There's some stuff I have to reach out to others about. I like how and Gladian are on very opposite sides and like come a bit closer together through their interaction at the Aether Paradise the second time. And also, I need to be stronger is like a very common motif line. Let's just call it a dialogue line throughout this game, whether it's How talking about how he needs to like upset his father and like be able to protect people, whether it's Gladian saying he needs to be stronger to protect people, whether it's Lily saying she has to be stronger to protect her mother. So yeah, thank you very much for watching this little ramble about other Sun and Moon topics. You know, I'll even bring out my Korean Galisapod illustration rare. You know, he's a pretty cool guy. There's a reason I wanted to use him, even though Emergency Exit is fucking dog shit.